Welcome to June month's webinar on evolving autonomous operations with generative AI, organized by Academy and Industry Council of Computer Society of India. Let's explore how latest developments in generative AI, shortly known as Gen AI, have created a wealth of opportunities, driving growth and providing a competitive edge. The transition of automated to autonomous operations represents a significant evolution of technology and business processes. By leveraging Gen AI, organizations can enhance their operational capabilities, making them intelligent, adaptive, and efficient. Gen AI has not only streamlined existing automated processes, but also enabled the development of fully automated systems that can learn, adapt, and make decisions independently. This transformative technology paves way for businesses to optimize their operations, reduce costs, and respond swiftly to market changes. Furthermore, the integration of Gen AI into business strategies allows companies to innovate continuously, ensuring they stay ahead of the curve. By harnessing the power of Gen AI, organizations can unlock new levels of productivity and operational excellence, ultimately achieving a sustainable competitive advantage in their respective industries. In this context, we will explore the various dimensions of Gen AI's impact on operations, examining real world examples and case studies that highlight its potential to revolutionize how businesses operate. Through this journey, we understand the strategic benefits and the future landscape of autonomous operations powered by Gen AI. We have requested industry expert to talk on this, and she has obliged. Thank you, ma'am. Let me take a few minutes to introduce the speaker of the day. Mayurakshi Mitra is currently the Director of Enterprise Architecture at Capgemini India Limited. Her role at Capgemini places her at the forefront of driving innovation and guiding the enterprise architecture strategy to meet evolving demands of business. With an impressive career spanning over 24 years, she has built a reputation as a highly skilled and knowledgeable professional in the IT industry. As a certified data architect, her expertise encompasses a broad range of areas, including IT strategy, digital transformation, and operations. Her understanding of these domains has enabled her to lead numerous successful projects that have significantly enhanced the technological capabilities and efficiencies of the organizations. One of the hallmarks of her career has been her commitment to sustainability. She firmly believes that sustainable practices are not just beneficial, but essential for the long term success and resilience of any business. In her role, she has championed initiatives that integrate sustainable practices into IT strategy and operations, ensuring that technology solutions are not only effective but also environmentally responsible. This dedication is reflected in her innovative approach to enterprise architecture, where she consistently seeks to minimize environmental impact while maximizing efficiency and effectiveness. Her work in this area involves not just the technical implementation of AI solutions, but also strategic integration into broader business context, ensuring they deliver tangible value and competitive advantage. Throughout her career, she has demonstrated a Throughout her career, she has demonstrated a remarkable ability to navigate the complexities of IT industry. Her strategic insights have been instrumental in guiding organizations through periods of significant change and transformation. Her journey in the IT industry is marked by continuous pursuit of knowledge and excellence. She is known for her analytical mindset, problem solving skills, and a keen eye for detail. Her ability to understand and address the intricate nuances of IT needs has earned her a reputation as a trusted advisor and leader in the field. Colleagues and stakeholders alike commend her for this dedication of integrity and unwavering commitment to excellence. Beyond her professional achievements, she is also a mentor and a role model to many aspiring IT professionals. She is passionate about sharing her knowledge and experiences, and she actively participates in industry forums, conferences, and seminars. Her contributions to the field of IT extend beyond her immediate work environment, and she continuously seeks to inspire and guide the next generation of IT leaders. Dear participants, we are privileged to have such a great technology leader as our guest. Please make sure that you make best use of this session. And if you want to ask anything else, you can post it in the chat. She will answer them. Ma'am, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to interact with you. Over to you.
Over to you. First of all, thanks a lot, Shirisha, for that wonderful introduction. I would say rather long one for myself, but it is a proud privilege for me to be addressing this particular session. And again, thanks again for giving me this opportunity. Yes, you are right. Throughout my long journey in the IT world, automation enough, right? We have we had cases where we had timely interventions, and everything was working fine. It's not that always you need a sensory a camera or maybe something to an extra device to come and do the decision making part. But we started in the due course of time, across our operations, across our industries, we started seeing that the amount of manual effort, right, was seriously hitting on these legacy technologies. There was a lot of dependency. We had to carve out rules to maintain these flows. Okay, and obviously we had to have constant training of humans, of the workforce, of the operation people, to adhere to those rules. And then we had to obviously bring in experts to resolve many issues, maybe which were real handy at that moment, or maybe it was taking time. So there was some sort of there was a delay in the processes. Some processes were going on hold. Then we were getting complaints from customers saying that we are not able to move ahead on time. This is taking more maybe in terms of outages especially. There were many dissatisfied customers who were actually complaining around the missed SLAs and all that, right? And obviously we had multiple inefficient processes and workflows, as I said, lot of human labor. So these are some areas where we actually started thinking about how we can actually start focusing more on automation, autonomous, right? And obviously the big change, or the biggest disruption in our field came up post COVID, or during the COVID, when we were forced. I'm using the word force because there was no human interaction. There was no way people could go to the factories and actually see what's going wrong. So those sort of remote controls, right, wherein we had to depend on people to control systems from a central maybe a monitoring sort of a place, right, which is much far away, much remote, right? Because obviously production cannot stop. We had to get things into place. So this is something where we started seeing the applicability of autonomous operations much more, right? That let's try to bring in more of decision making. And because, as I said, like because of that control centers which were more remote, right, we had to our like operations personnel had to be relocated, and obviously there are other cases where there were potentially hazardous environments in operations, right, wherein people were not ready to be exposed. They were not suitable to be exposed. But does that mean that we cannot go and monitor the data collection or how the process is working? No. So basically these sort of scenarios started pitching in, that adoption towards autonomous, systems, right? So this is basically, what I was telling, like we wanted an uninterrupted, operations, at the same time ensuring safety of our workforce, remote troubleshooting and monitoring. Obviously, the risk of human error was obviously mitigated to some extent. I wouldn't say the whole extent, but at least there are certain things which we could at least monitor and say that okay, at this time this is working fine, and this is how this is actually getting the decision done. Okay. And obviously, because big issue nowadays is getting skilled workers who have to be actually, as I said, told earlier, had to be trained, had to be informed as to how they would be actually addressing on that particular situation.
Mayurakshi, sorry to interject. Can you change to slideshow mode, please?
Okay, is it fine?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So then we started planning for the adoption. Okay, so obviously, moment we see the word autonomous, people might be slightly, hesitant, because they might expect a lot of, drastic, process changes. But we had to tell them that this is, not a big bang project. We can do all these processes in bits and pieces, because we are not going to change the whole system overnight. We can pick up, some aspects of the operations, try to give it a more autonomous flavor, and then based on the workflows, based on the specific the requirements of the system, we can plan for the adoption, right? So so for example, there is an this thing of Yokogawa, right? So Yokogawa is one this thing industry here, which is, it's an example, right? Yokogawa Electric Corporation, right? Someone had a question. So Yokogawa is an electric corporation. Hello.
Please carry on. I have to completely ready.
Okay. I hear a background noise. Okay. So, so basically, what they were doing is Yokogawa India, that they were basically, they were championing the transition. This is one of the examples, right? They wanted a transitioning from industrial automation to industrial autonomy, right? So they called it, I to IA, right? So what they were saying is that we are basically making that shift from so that each and every step where the human intervention between the different sequence of tasks is happening, let's change it to a system being responsible for these taking decision makings, and thus prevent any human intervention between the system of tasks. Okay. So okay, everything has a plus, and a pros and a cons. It's not so easy. Every adoption, every process change, initially obviously the basic mindset, people, there were some people who are very much comfortable moving ahead with the automated part. They were not very comfortable making that change, or they might not be having those right in-house skills or capabilities. Another big factor which came in for this adoption was a couple of IT infrastructure was siloed. There was no centralized, maybe mechanism of monitoring or, doing a maintenance. There were also budgetary constraints, because every process change needs a sort of a budget allocated. So there were certain holding back, a couple of barriers in which organizations were holding back on this adoption. So but then people said that, okay, as we know that we are not going to do everything overnight, let's take it in a sort of a maturity model. Okay, so then they started giving it a sort of a stepwise process. It's not going to be overnight happening. Let's try to understand the levels of autonomy, wherein we can express saying that okay, what is the different ways in which I can achieve a different level of autonomy, right? Is it always the whole autonomy in the first place? No, it is not required, right? Because as I said, it completely depends on the industry you're working with, and the particular business you are addressing, right? It's not a simple technology decision, right? It is you have to consider the safety of the operations, the business effectiveness, what value add it is doing. So over and above, we said that, okay, we'll say that, okay, when we start with level 0 where there is no autonomy, fine. So what we are saying is, it is exactly happening as is. There is no, everything is completely reliable on humans. So humans are making the decisions, they are performing all the functions. So I'm not even considering any autonomous. There's a complete human, dependency here. Then we move on to level 1, where we say that, okay, we are talking about an operation resistance wherein we have a minimum of automation technology. There's some systems which are running the operations. Some decision making obviously is being the skilled workers like the operators or the technicians or the planners. They are facilitating the mechanics of the operation, right? Then we started moving to the next level. So that's level 2, when we said that, okay, maybe based on particular industry, we can say that, okay, now we are giving it a stepwise control, saying that, okay, these are my continuous loops. I can define an automation system wherein I can maintain specific set points, and that way I can have a better control over my flow and to understand how things are moving from one step to another. As we moved on to the next level, wherein we said it is an advanced regulatory, so there obviously we added a certain level of say an extra piece of information. Let's take an example. Okay, so we have a production lineup in which there's a bottling industry. There's a factory which is doing the bottling. So now what is going to happen is that we are just taking one, this thing that, okay, in this particular level 3, it is able to say recognize bottles which are not completely filled properly to some mark where it is supposed to be filled, and then they can automatically push them off from that line, and maybe mark them with a different label, or get them discarded from that particular belt. So this is something wherein we said that, okay, we are now started taking some decisions, and obviously humans were handling those unexpected abnormalities, which the automation programs were not at that moment designed to handle. Then the next level is level 4, wherein we say that, okay, we will do a select autonomy. So we will have a choice. Okay, that's level 4 is basically the first 2 step in this maturity model, wherein that autonomy started coming in. Okay, what is happening is now these systems will start notifying the humans, right? I sense a failure. I sense that this operation, this condition is not working as it was supposed to be. Okay. And then obviously the humans could take a final, decision, and they can, maybe start, returning the system. They say, okay, fine, we have solved this failure. Now we can again go ahead with this system. Till level 4, it is not fully autonomous. Okay. Level 5 is the one which is fully autonomous, wherein we say that humans may not be required at all, or in worst come scenarios, they may be in remote locations, because obviously their immediate presence is not required. So just in case, something very critical happens, then only, the humans will come and interfere. But in general, we are saying that they are not, completely required in these sort of situations. So this is quickly, how the difference, stepwise, phase-wise, the maturity model evolved, for autonomous, right? And when we started seeing these usages across industries, so then we said that, okay, we had obviously, we had multiple industries which started using these, processes, these decision-making factors, automotive being the very first. We all know that we talk about autonomous vehicles, we talk about robot taxis, we talk about, delivery robots. These are very common, terms now, AVs, right? Autonomous vehicles. We had, you could have seen, in the Tokyo Olympics, robots carrying rugby balls. And nowadays also it has become very common, wherein, you have the robots carrying the cameras across the fields. So slowly, they are like we used to call them as delivery robots or autonomous robo taxis or this thing. So in fact, we had Cisco had powered a Indy autonomous challenge, okay, which was at Texas Motor Speedway, right? So it was a competition completely featuring autonomous race cars, which were traveling at around 150 miles per hour, with all this in-vehicle enablement and the trackside connectivity. So the example which I'm trying to give is slowly all these industries, and this is just one industry I'm talking about, automotive, right? Similarly, for transport constructions, okay, we had a lot of forklifts, autonomous forklifts, tuggers and pickers, who were actually, taking decision that, okay, now that, there is something I see, when I am transporting something, maybe some autonomous cranes are being used, I see a blocker there, right? There's something which is blocking. So what is the next decision? They are, enriched with that decision, and then they take, okay, now let's take this material and maybe place it on this side, okay? So likewise in manufacturing, lot of examples on robotic systems, on remote operations. I think we spoke about remote operations, in which would not have been possible because earlier operating personnel, they might not have had access to those hazardous environments. So now these were actually making it very, very easy of how to make things more easy, because as I said, after the lockdowns on COVID and social distancing, these were all fundamental changes which actually helped bring a sort of a change to the entire operations process and the way we were actually looking at maintaining them, right? We talked about then we have, obviously we know about surgical robots, very precision, like brain surgeries, or which entails a lot of precision. There were surgical robots which were working on that. On the retailing part, obviously we have seen shops like Amazon Go. You don't need to have cashiers at the checkout counters, right? So you just need to put in your stuff inside your cart, and obviously you put in your credit card information, and immediately it auto calculates the price of the items in the cart, and it auto debits from your credit card, right? So those were some examples which were there for retail. And obviously, last but not the least, obviously this list is not the finite one, but military security aspects, very critical. We have seen multiple military drones which came in handy. There were many air robots which helped us go and deliver very critical machinery, or maybe some component where it was very difficult to reach out, okay? So likewise, we have multiple things wherein we had a good focus on autonomous, making things more autonomous, wherein the decisions were not waiting for the humans, but based on whatever the program was fed in, and we were constantly using that, okay? Now all this was happening, and then obviously we know that the core technologies that were enabling autonomous operations, I mean, we mentioned earlier, like artificial intelligence, robotics, lot of cloud computing, lot of data, so data analytics, the amount of predictive analytics and all that, remote control, monitoring, then obviously the sensors, the 5G smart sensors. So there were many technologies which are already in place, which were enabling these autonomous operations, right? So how is actually GenAI making that change, right? So obviously we all know, right? GenAI is a type of the artificial intelligence which is creating that new content. whether it's in the form of text, images, code. So it has, what it's doing, it's opening up a wide range of possibilities, because it is giving that that data for for understanding that system, for creating that sample thing, saying that okay, in this like this sort of a scenario, how will I respond? Okay, how will I do my root cause analysis? Okay, so these sort of wide possibilities started opening or adding up to our existing AI ops. When we say autonomous IT operations, we call it AI ops, right? So that is where it's actually adding on to our existing AI ops, whether it's in the form of incident response, or capacity planning, security monitoring. So it is constantly automating these tasks as data collection, analyzing that data, reporting based on that analyzed data. So here the GenAI is helping by enabling with the large language models, the LLM, right? And the agents. Okay, so we have an agent pattern here. So what we do generally is we offer agents are the one which are making the decision. Okay, is adding to that decision making capabilities. In addition to performing the assigned tasks. So this is basically, I thought I'll just quickly, give you a sort of a diagrammatic this thing of how we are actually making use of the different, like from a technology perspective, right? So here what we say is that basically there are 5 elements, right? When we're talking about the agent, right? Obviously the agent itself, which is processing that information. Then obviously we have various tools which are interacting. We need tools for interaction. We have for prompting and planning, we need some prompt recipes. Okay, so basically they are prompting the person as they are making creating those plans, how to actually address, what is the solution which you will be providing. And obviously we have a lot of training data which is coming up. We need a place to store that data, so a lot of memory and context, and obviously a lot of APIs or user interfaces on the top, which is actually helping in the interaction. So the agent, what we see here in the middle or the center of this infrastructure, is basically leveraging one or more of these large language models and the interactions with the other services, right? So these were certain areas wherein the GenAI was started adding on. There were certain key techniques which we came. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on those techniques, but for example, we say GANs and VAEs, generative adversarial networks. So what we do is basically there are 2 neural networks here. One is the generator, which is actually creating that data, and then there is something which which is known as a discriminator, which actually does the evaluation part of it. So basically, for example, we have a network traffic simulations. It will basically try to train the cybersecurity models, or to help gain those predictive capabilities of arriving at any particular threat detections, right? That's just like an example, right? Then we have something like VAEs, which are variational autoencoders. This is basically this encode in the data or the inputs which is coming into a compressed space, and then they help decode to generate different outputs. So there are multiple areas like that. Reinforcement learning is there, which is based on feedback, the amount of the training models which are based on feedbacks. Then we have transformers, which are handling the sequential data. And that actually comes in handy more for incident reporting, wherein we have automated incident report service requests through these natural language processing capabilities. So there are a lot many aspects in from a GenAI perspective which started adding on to these autonomous operations. And as I was telling earlier, that incident response, root cause analysis, capacity planning, security monitoring, these are some of the many number of areas wherein Gen AI started enhancing the AI ops. Okay, there were certain, from an industry's perspective, there are practical uses of Gen AI which came up with different organizations bringing their specific component. For example, we know about for example, Google is using Gen AI to troubleshoot and resolve incidents. So in the Google's cloud AI platform, the number of AI ops services. Similarly, you have Microsoft's Azure Security Center, which is using Gen AI. IBM is using IBM Watson is using GenAI. Splunk, very important, is using the machine learning and predictive analytics for the real-time monitoring, and obviously a sort of a preemptive, problem solving. So multiple of these, organizations, they are actually, working on, getting the maximum, usage of GenAI in these different, AI ops. These are some, just a few examples. The list is endless, and we are constantly even evolving for more, powerful AI ops. We are adding on constantly. We are doing the analysis, we are doing the predictions, and obviously we are, constantly aiming for an increased agility, scalability, security part, obviously. So all these are, like, for example, we have conversational AI. You must have heard about conversational AI, which is basically like, when you're integrating the AI chatbots with the ITSM platforms. So that's going to just immensely speed up your incident response, because the moment right, you are, by going through the appropriate dialogues, right, you can reduce that time for that model training and the development. And obviously they will be, the chatbots will get ready to provide the enterprise support like this in the IT ops space. So there are many aspects of this which are slowly coming up. There is obviously no end to it. My last topic before I close my discussion today is, obviously there are trade-offs. Everything is not rosy, everything is not so finite, everything is not so perfect, right? So obviously, is the autonomous operations with all these added GenAI capabilities the future? So in general, when we talk about autonomous, is in general, we always had that caveat that we wanted, we always had that debate, because there are risks. There are risks of my data, my security of my data. There are risks of, laws, liability laws, which are coming up, right? There are ethical areas wherein GenAI or maybe autonomous this thing was not the finite this thing in terms of regulatory laws. So these are already there, right? These are up for debates, and there were already huge risks which had been anticipated earlier, right? Because we felt that attaining 100% autonomy may or may not be the right solution, because we have to have at areas, we have to have human protocols, we have to have liability laws. For example, when you're talking about these autonomous vehicles, so if you have, say for example, if you have we say that, okay, fine, so we have the cars are driving on their own, and then what about the vehicle manufacturers? They are expected to be liable for any collisions. There are liability laws, right? So like Volvo had already announced, right, when it started, selling autonomous vehicles in way back in 2020, that yes, they're announcing that it will pay for any injuries or damage caused by its fully autonomous car. Cyber security, I already mentioned, is another very big issue. Okay, so which was also, in terms of, for example, we had drone robots, uh, which had limits of geographical areas where they could they were regulated, and so everything is not so easy, everything is not so I would say 100% possible, and we always feel that humans have to play a somewhat of a role in autonomous operations, right? So obviously then we came to a concept called digital twins. This is obviously a well-known feature, or a concept which is there now, right? So we had to think, right, okay, we had to have a particular we had to had a particular sort of an advisor, a humans moving into an advisor role,
Okay, sir. Okay.
giving recommendations.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello?
Please continue, ma'am.
Okay. So basically what I was telling is that digital twin, people are creating, they're creating the environment, they are experimenting with the autonomous technology, right? So then the humans have to move to an advisor role, right? Giving recommendations, right? Once it's perfected, the final phase would be like, okay, the system is acting like an operator, and only in case of a very rare or unprecedented exception, it should be able to have an intervention by the humans, right? So this is these are already some things which were known, and obviously with GenAI, as I was mentioning earlier, the security, the privacy concerns, because when we talk about ethical considerations, right, this is entirely, like for example, the transparency, the data transparency, or the the bias prevention. These are very crucial, when we are talking about GenAI, this thing. We have to take this into consideration. We cannot just uh, apply any GenAI this thing and start using for my monitoring, right? So these are obviously to some extent, obviously, cultural resistance to change, because some people are comfortable using their as-is systems. They will not be like to go into that debatable, situation wherein the practicality of GenAI might, pose a problem for the organization. So obviously it's case by case basis, and every organization, every industry had to take a call, because uh, obviously we know, right, in our IT jobs, it's always considered, okay, GenAI is going to take away our jobs, right? So most, IT teams will be resistant to using GenAI. That maybe it's a threat to their jobs, or it may be a threat to their real data, right? Because when you are doing any AI modeling, right, you are generating synthetic data, which is actually, you cannot distinguish it from the real data. That actually raises the concern, because again, fake accounts, fake identities are coming up, right? So all these have to be considered, and then taking that call, we can plan for the next move for the GenAI. So I think I'll take a pause here. I think I've spoken with respect to the topic which we had for today, and I think we have 10 more minutes. Happy to take on any questions or any discussions. I open it out to the floor. Hello,
Hello,
Am I
thank you,
audible?
madam.
is
I am
someone?
I am Dr. Durgesh Mishra from Symbiosis University of Applied Sciences, Indore,
Hello,
and I was
doctor.
Hello. Right, it was very nice, and then it's very required. This generative AI is in the automation and all this thing.
Yes.
Even in every field, this generative AI is required. Nowadays, this you have given the example of uh, this aviation field. This aviation field is definitely 101% is required where we can use the Gen AI, right?
Sure.
And well, everywhere now because we are the digital India and all these things, we are going toward digital India. Even our railway and all departments are going to become the automate. And apart from the automate, 100% we have to apply Gen AI, right? So thank you, madam.
Sure.
It was very nice. And then sometime I request you to invite in Symbiosis Indore.
Okay. That's very nice
Right.
of you, Dr. Durgesh, and thanks for your inputs. Yes, you are very right. This is the in thing. Nobody can avoid that. Thing is we have to use it in a proper ethical way by understanding what are those governing regulations, industry wise standards, right?
Right.
So that the misuse, because every technology unfortunately brings up the negative aspect along with its positivity, right? So we as industry leaders, or as IT people, right, we have to definitely take care of that this doesn't go into wrong hands, and we make out the best out of these technology trends.
Right. Thank you. And also
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
thanks to the CSI Hyderabad chapter. I was in the CSI national level chairman as well as treasurer, and so I thanks to the CSI Hyderabad chapter to share the this type of webinar and then knowledge sessions with our students and for the entire country, right?
Yeah,
So
Sure.
it is very,
Durgesh,
it,
this
it,
is Chandra here.
Chandra sir, it was very nice, and I request you to organize such type of activity for the Pan India, right?
Sure, we are.
Right.
Okay, thanks for attending, Durgesh ji.
Thank you, Chandra sir. Thank you.
Yeah, this program is conducted by Academic and Industry Council, Computer Society of India.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Madam, Harsha, ask if there are any other people who want to ask any questions. Otherwise, say.
This is Rishali here. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
This was extremely nice session,
Hi, Vishal.
ma'am. Just quick one. You have already touched the aspect of, how do we really make sure and preserve the human rights in case of any laws, because the industry wherein all these are pitching in, one of the example, or in our company also, we are using, the medical research term and the robotics in the surgeries and all. How do we make sure that there are, enough laws, and which are the bodies involved which would really take care of the human rights here in case of any kind of loss, really?
No, that's a very big topic, Vishali, and very critical one, because the
Yeah.
ethical part of the AI, right, is a serious concern in every organization and every industry. Like you mentioned about the health industry, or it might be the automotive one, or a telecom,
Right.
whatever, right? Every, like how we have set regulatory standards for each of the industry domains. Similarly, for so that we don't have the wrong usage, we define the right state of the data which we are actually going to use. How do we maintain the security of the data? So there are many different parameters, different regulatory bodies which are working on it, and I think this is going to become a part of our a sort of an industrial assessment, because this I think all industries have to go through that when they are doing their assessment. Like, for example, I work for sustainability, and so sustainability has a regulatory policy. There are different governing bodies across the globe for every domain. Similarly, we have to have
Yeah.
much emphasize, and I think we can definitely have a good session on understanding the ethics of getting into or maintaining this thing of AI, right? So I think that's going to be really crucial and a very valid point, Rushali.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your insights.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, Prabhakar here. Just straight away one question. Can GenAI is going to replace the software engineer's job?
Okay, so I think I had closed my call with one of those fears, if you call, when it comes to adoption of more of GenAI, because so I would like to just mention, I think that's a standard reply which we have been hearing from our leaderships as well, is that uh, it's the content which you actually have to feed in, right? Not everything can be auto, like when we're talking about the autonomy, this thing, it cannot be fully autonomized, right? You have to have human intervention, especially when it's coming to determining new pieces, when you are going through analyzing new sampling of data or this thing, right? You have to have the humans definitely have to come in. Obviously, I think only part wherein maybe there would be a little impact will be on the repetitive tasks, wherein everything is set, and we are not expecting a lot of deviations from those processes. But I would not like to mention that GenAI is going to take away the jobs, because obviously it's just going to mold the way in which we are going to do our work. It's going to be more on the model, the training of the data, right? That is the focus area which is going to come up, so that we can take out the best possible use of GenAI in getting more and more of our work streamlined, risk free. So that's entirely the thought process. Maybe we were doing monotonous work, now we have to think of how to do it in a much more efficient way.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for your answer. So I have one conclusion also over here.
Sure.
I mean, like I'm, these days I'm following the GenAI, which is videos which are provided by Capgemini, and
Yeah.
following it. And yeah, I'm practicing of that one, prompt engineering also. And
Yes.
I realized that yes, my job is safe. GenAI is not going to replace my job. And also I'm also concluding that yes, it is going to boost up my work, however I'm doing. And also I'm maybe it's my personal opinion, and also I'm suggesting that recent joiners, like who are freshers, they should not use the GenAI, because here in the prompt engineer, GenAI is going to gives us the code, but again human should evaluate it. So without evaluation, it will be wrong code. There may be a chance.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Maturity, I think, Prabhakar, what you are saying is the very maturity of using the right thing in the right place, right, is obviously required here. And I don't think I fully reciprocate your statement that this is not for moment we hear about co-pilots and this thing, right? I mean, we are moving to the GenAI topic in general, but yes, in any usage, right, we have to understand what we are doing, is that the right thing or not. So that decision making, or that maturity mindset has to be there with anyone who is handling GenAI, because otherwise it's going to be a disaster. When we say that young generation, they'll come and they'll say, okay, because we are seeing our youngsters doing some project work by taking help of ChatGPT and all that, right? So they will not know what if they have pasted the code which they have pasted is right or not. Maybe people who have actually done the coding, they will be immediately knowing that, okay, this particular line of the code is not right, or this is not going to give you the desired result. So just an example, obviously we have to have that level of maturity so that we get the right thing in place using GenAI. Thanks, Prabhakar.
Thanks, Mayurakshi, for the wonderful session on
Thanks so
autonomous
much.
operations using GenAI. Just wanted to add answer. No, Vishali has raised the question, right? So
Yes,
which
please.
government body takes
Yes.
care of So there is a body called Central Drug Standard Control Organization,
Yes.
CDSCO. That is a national regulatory authority in India, which is responsible for the approval of medical devices, including robotic surgical systems. This comes under Directorate General of Health Services, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare.
Okay.
So, Vishali, you can Google, what are all the steps to
Sure.
be done to get the permission from this government body.